NATO springs into action after Vladimir Putin expands the list of what Moscow calls legitimate military targets. French Dassault Rafale jets scramble over NATO airspace to intercept Russian military aircraft near the Baltic. Moscow tests NATO's readiness with a fresh wave of military aviation activity over the Baltic region. Russian Su-30SM2 fighters reportedly flew missions armed with anti-radiation missiles, raising concerns among NATO planners. The Baltic region is increasingly emerging as a key arena for military signaling and pressure between Russia and the Western alliance.
Ukraine has sent its operators of unmanned systems, unmanned aerial vehicles, to the territory of Latvia. Accordingly, it plans to strike Russian territory. If such launches are recorded by our side, what response can we expect?
All places from which a direct military threat to Russia originates are legitimate targets.
French Rafale scrambled from Lithuania to intercept Russian Su-30SM2 fighter jets operating over the Baltic Sea during a NATO air policing mission. French armed forces released images showing the interception and close monitoring of 2 Russian Su-30SM2 aircraft over international waters. The Rafales operated from Šiauliai Air Base in Lithuania, located roughly 130 kilometers from Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. The Baltic air policing deployment began in early April and is being supported by more than 100 French military personnel. French fighters also intercepted a Russian Illinois 20M electronic intelligence aircraft during a separate mission conducted in April. In early May, the same Rafale detachment was scrambled once again to intercept Russian Su-24M strike aircraft near NATO airspace. The Rafales used Thales targeting pods to visually identify Russian aircraft from long range during interception missions. French military officials said some Su-30SM fighters were observed carrying Kh-31 anti-radiation missiles during the encounters. The Kh-31 missiles are designed to target enemy radar installations and suppress air defense networks during combat operations. The Rafale fighter is manufactured by Dassault Aviation and has an operational range of more than 3,000 kilometers. The Su-30SM2 remains one of Russia's primary frontline multirole fighters and continues to be produced in serial numbers. The upgraded Su-30SM2 variant officially entered service in 2022 with more powerful AL-41F1S engines. Russian officials say the new engines improve aircraft performance, extend operational range and increase maintenance efficiency. Meanwhile, Šiauliai Air Base remains NATO's primary hub for rotational Baltic air policing deployments in the region. Spanish F-18 fighter aircraft were previously deployed at the base before the arrival of the current French Rafale detachment. The interceptions come amid continuing tensions linked to the Russia-Ukraine war and its broader regional spillover effects.
As for the statements by European politicians that they are preparing for war with Russia, that is nonsense. This is being done, allegedly, in connection with Russia's aggressive plans towards Western European countries. This is a lie, a blatant, brazen lie. As Joseph Goebbels used to say back in the day, the more incredible the lie, the faster people will believe it. These are precisely the standards that Western politicians and mass media are introducing into their daily practice. Russia has never had any aggressive intentions towards European countries. And the tragedy unfolding in Ukraine is their doing. It is the result of their policy, because it was they who led to the state coup in Kiev in 2014. They have brought about the current tragedy. And now they are trying to shift the blame, to show that Russia is the aggressive one. No, this is their policy, from the very first step, when they deceived us that there would never be any expansion, that NATO would supposedly not take a single step eastward, right up to the tragedy in Ukraine with the state coup. This is all the result of their policy. Let them not deceive their own people. Russia has never threatened and does not threaten European countries. Everything they do is only to continue the confrontation with Russia and to justify excessive spending from their states' budgets, with dipping into the pockets of taxpayers in European countries.
Ukraine has sent its operators of unmanned systems, unmanned aerial vehicles, to the territory of Latvia. Accordingly, it plans to strike Russian territory. If such launches are recorded by our side, what response can we expect?
All places from which a direct military threat to Russia originates are legitimate targets. Certain contacts with Ukraine are maintained. I will not hide it, but there are no negotiations as such. Although we are ready to talk, we have never refused negotiations. We have not stopped them. We are ready for their proposal. They, the Baltic states, have the means to level Russian air defense bases in Kaliningrad. Russia has all the means to level anyone who tries to do that. I think those in the European Union are right who say that they themselves must determine the negotiator. We do not appoint one for them. When I proposed Mr. Schroeder, I meant that he was a person who could be trusted. Do you understand? They hang all sorts of labels on him there, that he is my friend and so on. Yes, we are friends with him, and why hide it? What is wrong with that? Is that bad? But it does inspire a certain degree of trust. At the same time, despite our friendship with him, he always, and I want to emphasize this, I want it to be known both here and in Germany, he always acted in the national interests of the German people and the German state. We do not determine that. I just offered, for example, Schroeder, or someone like him. It is not our job to determine the negotiator. But naturally, we can decide whether to meet with someone of current Western European politics or not. That is our right. We will see. They have not proposed anyone yet. Whether they will or not, we will also see, as well as whether we need to meet with some politician proposed, or not, whether we can trust him in anything or not. We held talks in Minsk back in the day and signed the Minsk agreements. But now we learn that they were signed in order to buy time, to arm Ukraine, but not in order to resolve all emerging issues by peaceful means, that thing we have always strived for and are ready for even now. Now that is indeed enough. Thank you very much.
Just hours after Ukraine publicly warned of a looming Oreshnik attack, Russia launched a major missile and drone barrage overnight on May 23 to 24, making good on its threats. Monitoring groups said that more than 50 Russian missiles and over 700 drones were directed at Ukraine. At least one person was killed and 24 others were injured in the Russian attack, officials said. A second wave of strikes began around 3 a.m., with air raid sirens wailing across multiple regions as people scrambled for shelters. Explosions were also reported in the cities of Cherkasy, Kropivnitsky, and Khmelnytsky, indicating a broad, countrywide targeting pattern. Russian media outlets themselves reported that Oreshnik ballistic missiles were used, directly echoing the very warning Zelensky had issued a day earlier. Meanwhile, a separate Russian drone attack struck a funeral procession near Sumy, killing at least one person in an especially grim incident. On May 23, Zelensky had warned Ukrainians that Russia might soon strike using Oreshnik missiles, urging the public to take air raid alerts seriously. He said this warning was based on intelligence shared between Ukrainian services and their American and European partners, underscoring the seriousness of the threat. Zelensky also claimed Moscow might be preparing a combined strike that would use multiple weapon types simultaneously to overwhelm defenses. He specifically mentioned that the Oreshnik intermediate-range missile could be one of the key weapons used in such a combined barrage. Zelensky said, and I quote, "Our intelligence services reported receiving data, including from American and European partners, about Russia preparing a strike with the Oreshnik missile. We are verifying this information. We are seeing signs of preparation for a combined strike on Ukrainian territory, including Kiev, involving various types of weaponry. The specified intermediate-range weapons could be used in such a strike. It is important to act responsibly on air raid alerts, starting this evening. Russian madness truly knows no bounds, so please protect your lives, use shelters." End quote. Moscow first used the Oreshnik missile against Ukraine in a major attack back in November 2024, marking the weapon's combat debut. At that time, Russia claimed the missile had been aimed at a Ukrainian military-industrial facility, framing the strike as a blow against Kiev's war machine. A second reported use of Oreshnik came in January 2026, when missiles struck targets in the Lviv region in western Ukraine. Russian claims about the system include that its warheads can withstand temperatures comparable to those found on the surface of the sun, adding to its fearsome image. The much-quoted 4,000 degrees Celsius figure for the Oreshnik missile's re-entry or impact temperature comes directly from President Vladimir Putin himself. The latest attacks on Kiev followed an earlier strike in which Ukraine reportedly hit a college dormitory in Luhansk between May the 21st and 22nd. Russia says at least 21 people were killed and 42 wounded in that attack, which Moscow denounced as a monstrous crime by Kiev. Ukraine has denied Russia's accusations, while Putin publicly warned that there would be a stern response to the incident. Putin labeled the Luhansk strike a terrorist attack and ordered his military commanders to prepare suggestions for how to exact revenge. Russia accused Ukraine of targeting Europe's largest nuclear plant in a drone strike reported on May 30th, according to Russian officials. Russia's state nuclear company Rosatom said a drone struck the turbine hall of Unit 6 at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Rosatom chief described the incident as a deliberate attack on the nuclear facility, according to a Reuters report. Alexei Lukashev said Russia had repeatedly warned about threats to the safety and security of the Zaporizhzhia facility. Russia said the drone detonated after impact, tearing a hole in the wall of the turbine hall building. As per Moscow, the explosion caused no damage to primary nuclear systems or power generation equipment at the site. The Global Atomic Watchdog's chief expressed concern following reports of the alleged attack on the facility. Rafale Grossi warned that attacking nuclear sites is like playing with fire, according to the IAEA. Ukraine's military rejected the allegation, calling it yet another propaganda ploy by Moscow. Kiev said Ukrainian forces did not strike Power Unit No. 6 or any other part of the nuclear plant. Ukraine military said, and I quote, "Ukrainian servicemen act strictly within the international humanitarian law and are fully aware of the consequences of any actions targeting nuclear facilities. At the relevant section of the front line, there was no active fighting during the incident, and no weapons were used." Unquote. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant has remained under Russian control since its capture by Russian forces in March 2022. The facility lies close to the front line in Ukraine's southeastern Zaporizhzhia region, where fighting continues. The plant has repeatedly been caught in the war's crossfire, sparking international nuclear safety concerns. Both sides have frequently accused each other of endangering the site during the more than 4-year war.